Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the North American LCS. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson, and with me is David Freak Turley, or Darius. We still don't know. Now, we want to check in on the conversation happening on Twitter. Earlier in the broadcast, we posed the question, which team do you want to see represent the NA LCS at Worlds, and why? And here are just a few of your responses. At FizzyOP says, it would be amazing to see TSM at Worlds. I know they would lust after the championship and would go wild if they won it.
Bjergsen. They would die Riss if they couldn't. No, I got nothing there. Yeah, I mean, TSM are great. They've been to Worlds every single year. It'd be a shame if they missed the streak now.
Did at FizzyOP just defeat the pun master?
I mean, I just look I don't do name puns anymore.
That's true.
That's my defense. There we go. We're good. We're good.
You are on record saying
untarnished.
That. I'll give you that. All right, our next tweet is at Stanley A 1993. Cloud9 for sure, because even if they are having a few bad games, they pull together as a team and get the job done.
Yeah, these guys are wonderful overall, and I do want to see them go as well. They've been playing great all split long. I think they're a really good choice.
Yeah, and they had the experience from last year at Worlds too. So definitely a solid choice. Our next tweet is at Wolverine X. CLG, they're unpredictable, always finding a way to win. Their in-game adaptations to situations is unrivaled.
And CLG are an interesting story because they keep going up and down. It feels like they missed out on Worlds last time around, but they had been one of the top American teams for so long. It feels like they are on an upswing again, despite how close the LCS is split. And they're, of course, a good option as well.
Yeah, they definitely struggled last week with that 0-2, so hopefully they can turn their season around. And our final tweet is at Sonico11. The NA LCS caster team should definitely represent NA at Worlds. Did you see how they annihilated those Doom bots of Doom?
They did, and unfortunately, somehow Kobe won the MVP vote. I had them more kills than him. The thing is, I didn't even need Triforce to beat them, so, I mean, we're definitely OP.
All right, well, let's not get too crazy. Saving humanity is one thing, but Worlds is something else entirely. We want to thank everyone who wrote in, but we also want more, so keep sending those answers to us at LollySports and use the hashtag LCS. For now, though, we're going to send things over to the guys at the caster desk to take you into our next match.
Thanks, Dashcasters OP. I'm Rivington Business III, and taking over the co-caster chair for our next two games is the man with the plan, Generalissimo, Joshua Jat Leesman. And we're moving into our next match, Cloud9 versus Team Dignitas. Jat, Cloud9 are coming off a 2-0 week, their first perfect week since week dos.
It's crazy that it's been that long since they had a perfect week, and their win over Curse was also incredibly close. It really came down to Sneaky's huge Kog'Maw game and that final fight. But when you just look at the trends, Cloud9 are hopefully re-emerging as a team to be feared. They do know how to win, they do have clean communication, and they've updated their champion pool, so things are kind of in the works for them to get better. The game has also been shifting to a more traditional style, which favors Cloud9, because they do better in isolated lanes than they did with all the lane swapping. So this time, they're going to be pretty good, plus they've had a good matchup against Dignitas.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Meanwhile, Dig were able to snap their losing streak last week. That was a long one. And not just with a win, but with a blowout against Evil Geniuses. So hopefully they carry that momentum.
And that game against Evil Geniuses was nearly perfect. EG didn't get a single kill.
No.
Dignitas took every Dragon, Baron, and EG only got 3 turrets. It couldn't have come at a better time either, because they were on a 6-game they were on a big 5-game slide, and there's only 6 games left for them as well. So they start this only a game behind second place. And now that they're on the outside looking in, the target is off their back. They may be able to make a run and climb their way back to the top spot, but it does have to start right now, Rick.
It does indeed. Cloud9 and Dignitas have had their fair share of difficulty this year. But in this match, both agree that it will come down to the team's shot calling.
Dig has been struggling recently. I think they haven't been able to adapt as quickly.
C9, I feel like they got a little complacent after they won the last split, and it was hard for them to improve off of that because they had lack of practice and such.
To beat C9, we just have to make definitive calls because we're definitely individually better than most teams.
I would say that our decision making against Dignitas is probably our advantage. Dignitas cannot close out games that well, and if we could get to that point where they struggle and become confused and stuff, then we could probably beat them.
A game that's that important, we need to do the same thing we do for every team. We don't really want to treat a team differently.
I definitely don't think we prioritize games. It might create a bad mentality for us.
It just boils down to whoever can, execute better and prevent what the other team wants to do better.
I like that. That only means that we're going to get a lot of head clashing coming into this game if they both think the same thing.
And so far today, we've seen some pretty bloody games as well. So fighting is definitely starting to come back, at least in the last 5 or 6 games we've seen.
Well, with objectives on the way and the kills right in front, let's get right to it. On the blue side, it's Cloud9. Balls in the top lane, Meteos in the jungle, High in the mid lane, Sneaky at 80 carry, and none other than Elimination on support.
And on the red side, in black and yellow, it is Dignitas. Silent Spartan in the top lane, Crumbs in the jungle, Shifter in mid lane, I'm a Kitty Pod 80 carry, and of course Kiwi Kid on support.
And in today's featured matchup, we'll be watching the middle of the map. It's going to be High versus Shifter. 2 players with very, very different play styles.
This is fascinating because High, that's not High. That's Sneaky, but
That's
High is a very
High.
aggressive player that can get in an opponent's face in 1v1s during that laning phase. And then later in the game, High is very comfortable acting as the initiator for team fights, even if it means giving up a death.
Yeah.
Whereas Shifter plays much more conservatively, but much more consistently, if that makes sense. He will concede a few advantages to make sure he will be reliable and a killer in team fights. He does not go all in. He's actually a complete opposite of High, where he will sit way back in team fights and pick up the kills at the end, whereas High goes right at the start. There he is. We didn't lose him.
There's a different approach from that man. We already saw it already. He was trying to play a little Mission Impossible and put Sneaky in his spot, but it's not going to work. The lane swaps have not happened just yet. We'll have to see.
Does this tell us where they're doing High bot lane?
It might. We have to see. It may be. Maybe bring out the ADTF. Who knows? So with this, we have 1 game for Dig, 2 games for Cloud9. Can they even it up in this matchup? Dignitas, like we said, if they can bring the momentum they had versus EG, it might be hard for Cloud9 to even get a foothold.
Dignitas is a very momentum-based team. We've seen in the past, it's kind of the inverse law of Dignitas' success. When everyone expects them to win, they lose, and as soon as people lose faith in them, they start beating everyone.
Yeah.
And I actually think when they're on that losing streak, a lot of Dignitas fans lost a bit of faith. Guess what? They destroyed EG.
They did, and they may, with the option of what they pick in Champion Select. Right now, we're going to get locked into that in our 3rd matchup of the day here in Week 10. So close to those playoff matches, and these teams are striving for the top spot for that.
Yeah, and the Nidalee ban comes out first. These are the 2 teams that had the Nidalee victory last weekend. 2 bans targeted at Zion Spartan. Shifter is actually not a Yasuo mid player. It's a Yasuo top that they would be banning away from Zion.
Last one to come out. What will they decide? Will they leave the Gragas up? Will they take it out? It's been kind of a mainstay for a lot of teams here in the LCS, as you just get that one for sure tank buster in the tank in the late game.
Let's get
that can
rabble
bust
rouser.
people.
There we go. Bust and tank. You can't see it on the camera here, but I was very impressed. Crumbs has matching pants on today. He's got yellow pants for his Dignitas outfit.
Wow.
We'll get to see after the game.
Very color-coded. Crepo looked dapper today as well.
Got that nice haircut?
Yeah.
Balls as well.
And cleanliness.
He's been working out.
Always working out. This guy right here. Working the brain muscles.
I want to see Rumble.
What do we do? I'd love to see Rumble.
I was actually checking out the Brazil finals before the LCS started the day.
Yeah.
And there was a Rumble top lane in their first game. So those guys are doing it. Come on, balls. Why aren't you doing Rumble? Peer pressure.
Tristana picked up for Sneaky to start it off. The peer pressure doesn't set in just yet. But what can Dig focus? Cutie Pie is not usually one to get his AD carry right away. And it looks like he will not. Rengar and Gragas, 2 very big boys.
Rengar definitely a jungler that is seeing more and more play. We have seen a lot of Rengars in the NA LCS fall flat on their face in games and have no presence. But the fact remains, his level 6 ganks are some of the most fearsome and reliable. And as far as Crumbs wanting to play a support-style jungler, while he can't support as well from the level 2 and 3 like Elise would, his level 6 ganks are much more potent and could very well go for Zion or Shifter. That's what I'd expect.
And it really plays in favor of Dignitas, too. When they got Zion and Shifter, they could play, or they had stronger solo lanes. That gives Crumbs the ability to level up to 6, have a nice farm in the jungle, and then hit those lanes if necessary. What can they deny that with? The Orianna on one side, so I'm expecting maybe a Syndra from Shifter to keep that lane strength up.
I would say that the Braum pick there is kind of the last of the really contested picks, and as soon as they're picking Orianna on Cloud9's side, they're then just picking for generalities. Maybe they're denying Shifter his Orianna, knowing that there is a Cassin potential Lulu ban, even though most of those bans were targeted at the top lane. I can't imagine Shifter doesn't just use Aerith again. That's what he's been playing so much of.
That's true. Keeping that long range in, it will help. They can get the barrels out. Now the Jinx zaps and ultimate. And that Mega Death Rocket. We'll see what they do. Top lane jungle. What's going to be locked in for Cloud9? Not usually something they leave for their last picks.
Rumble. No, it's not. I wish it was. So, as far as jungle bans go, it was just that Lee Sin, meaning, hello, Elise is up, and that is really what Meteos
big shift in those bans
is very, very strong on. Obviously, he's doing a slightly different Elise build now. He's one to build damage, more so than the Tank Spirit. And he's actually maxing his W second as well, which does reduce the stun duration in the mid game.
So there's the Xerath being locked in with the two big men of Gragas and Mundo in the top lane. Very interesting compositions coming out from both sides. Synergy in the fight control. Diving into the fight from Cloud9, a bit of that poke game from Dig.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Dig team, and it's heavily poke-based, especially with the double AP. Huge amounts of wave clear, a large ability to stall it to late game. But if I look at Cloud9's team, if you stall the late game against them, what do you really get? Because they have Tristori Mundo, which arguably could scale better than the Gragas, Xerath, and Jinx. So I do actually favor Cloud9's composition a little bit here.
All right, let's see who you are predicting to win. According to LOLesports.com, 63% of you are thinking that Cloud9 are going to come out on top here.
Yeah, but keep those votes coming because things change. Send the hashtag C9 win or the hashtag DIG win to @LOLesports. And I guarantee you we'll be updating that throughout the game, especially if it changes a lot.
That's right.
Yeah.
I wonder if Cutie Pie has given his words of wisdom this game. Usually only a few words that have to do with the map itself and then thinking. Either one of the few.
You could make a whole website just based off Cutie Pie quotes.
You could.
And his philosophies on life.
I could spend a lot of time on that clicking through. I think that'd be humorous. Absolutely.
Kiwi Kid, of course, really keeps I'm a Cutie Pie in check, it seems.
Yeah. Then sometimes not
as
well.
A lot of people didn't think Kiwi Kid had a place on Dignitas when he was a top laner for them, but his move to support really kind of revitalized his LCS career. But with all that being said, something that Yut Win wanted me to talk about.
Ooh.
He's our stats guy.
Let's chat.
You know what? We need to talk about I'm a Cutie Pie and Kiwi Kid. I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. Well, it is a bot lane that can turn heads, that's for sure.
Yeah, it turns a lot of heads, but the question would be, how much has I'm a Cutie Pie and Kiwi Kid really done this split for Dignitas? Because we talk so much about Shifter and Zion Spartan and their solo lane prowess and how Crumbs just camp Zion Spartan's lane. I'm a Cutie Pie and Kiwi Kid really haven't been solid performers very frequently.
Right.
It's actually been a little bit of a slump split for I'm a Cutie Pie, and he does need to back it up with better play because he's, in the past, been one of the highest potential AD carries, I'd say, in the LCS. When he does well, he does really well. But if we look past Dignitas' last few games, when is the last time he's had a spectacular game? And you have to go way back to see that.
Yeah, way, way back. Really nothing that hits 10 kills. Over 6 or 7 you only see a few times. Something that really worked for Dig is when they had that Annie in the bot lane on Kiwi Kid, when they were running that Draven, when they could both go all out in your face. Now it's farm for the late game, and it's not really working for him. We'll see if Kiwi Kid, he still puts himself in those spots. We've heard the all chats. I have Moby boots. I'm going for broke. Simple things like that.
Yeah.
Put Kiwi Kid on the initiative.
And Kiwi Kid dying so much does have to do with the team dynamic within Dignitas. He's highest deaths in the NA LCS this split. But the thing is, every team needs someone to die, if you think about it. For Cloud9, oftentimes when they're at their best, we talked about it in the feature matchup, it's high going into a team fight first, creating action, and just falling apart. That doesn't necessarily happen with Orianna, but is to be considered. Shifter, always sitting at the back of fights, playing either assassin champions or long-range poke champions, is never putting himself in danger. But if you actually want to keep people engaged in fights, someone's got to be in there. And when you have a top laner like Zion Spartan who plays a lot of squishier top laners, it's going to be your support and jungler all the time that take most of the deaths. Come on, man.
Whoops.
That means Cutie Pie gets zoned off as well. Not a good start to lane.
Sneaky also isn't pushing that too hard, so they're really zoning them out in these first few CS. It's going to help as well. Having Tristana, he won't be inadvertently pushing the lane on the slow attack on the minions. You see Dig trying to get themselves actually back in to not have a level 2 so thwarted off by them. And they're going to be able to get the damage trade in their favor. Nice little aggression to start off this lane.
I'm a little surprised that Sneaky and Lemon didn't try and shove this lane a little faster. There is an art into hitting level 2 right before the other team that was not executed there by Cloud9.
No, pushed off the lane and level 2 first, at least for Cutie Pie. Kiwi Kid having gone around the outside, that's where they're trying to work off of, the lack of experience there. He's still level 1 and he has blown his flash.
My days as an art critic have yet to begin because that was a poor call there. They did actually time their level 2 just right, so they could all in Kiwi Kid before he had a second spell. And they get the flash out of him, which means he is far more vulnerable to ganks.
I actually thought Dig was going to get in that second level real fast, but C9 planning it out ever so carefully. Meteos hits level 3 being in that bottom lane, so it's a little bit about what he wants there. Nicely done, not wasting time. So we see, at least on our vision, both junglers in the bot lane, not really affecting the game too much to start, so it is up to the solo lanes. Can Dig get the early advantage in every lane that they want?
And also, how is Crumbs going to do this as Rengar? If we think of the last game Dig won, Zion Spartan on Nidalee, Crumbs on Nunu, he was basically living in the top lane to help out Zion Spartan. Rengar does not have that capability. He really just wants to hit level 6 as quickly as possible. It does mean their lanes are going to have to fend a little bit more for themselves than usual.
We'll definitely have to keep an eye on Crumbs. One of our OPs to watch, or not OPs, but one of our players to watch, as well as High here in the mid lane. And this is Crumb's first Rengar in the NA LCS.
A lot of stuff to keep our eyes on this game, in all honesty. And that's kind of been a trend we're seeing here in the NA LCS. These teams are making some pretty drastic moves, whether it's in the roster, as we saw with TSM, or with trying out new champions as they need to find their optimal strategy before Super Week and, more importantly, the playoffs.
High not doing too bad, 30-25 in the mid lane. Looks like he stays safe on the siege wave. He'll go back on that.
Typically, lanes with Shifter do not have too much action. Xerath in particular, he will get a little aggressive, and when we see level 6 on Crumbs, we could very well see those Rengar ganks. We saw a display of nice Xerath Rengar ganks in our previous game today, how nice that gank can be, chaining the stuns together.
Yeah, the amount of stun you get, a little scary if you're on the receiving end. You're not really going anywhere. Only a small gold lead due to the tit for tat and the back and forth between these lanes. Lemon Nation trying to gain bush control. You can see that one ward. Cutie Pie's even playing dangerously with that ward there. They're trying to keep in range. Already down in CS there. Again, not the lane that's going to be making an early impact for Dig. Lemon Nation, they know they're getting pushed up in these lanes ever so slightly, so he's going to want those deep wards.
Yeah, those wards will tip off, hopefully, when Crumbs hits 6, but how early he placed that ward, to me, actually signifies that he's more worried about Kiwi Kid roaming. One of the big things that Kiwi Kid does is just whenever he feels like it, will leave the lane and go try and make a play in mid. He creates a huge amount of map pressure on his own. But if Cloud9 places that ward, it does make it more difficult for him to sneak around, with the added effect of catching Crumbs if he does white, which is generally what Rengar does to build ferocity right before his level 6 gank.
Control for both sides of mid for Shifter here. Pink wards have been laid down, so that thwarts a little bit of roaming for him. Both teams getting that idea of vision now into play. Meteos is going to see that there's a pink, and he will actually have time to clean it. High gives him a nice little rotation to the top side of mid to give him safety there.
Great ward kill.
Yeah. But that was just placed, too, so Crumb's kind of hurting on that one. They'll probably be looking for the other one on the next side of the map, or bottom side, I should say. Sneaky's going to hang out by himself here. He should be able to grab most of this, missing that first one.
Cutie Pie landed pretty much everything. But as you can see, when they're just trying to shove up, he just wants to go back and buy. Cutie Pie was actually sitting on 1,525 gold. He would have liked to have about 1,600, so he can go back and buy the BF sword plus a health potion or two. But because he went back without getting all the CS, you can see he's waiting in... He actually didn't go back.
No, he did not.
He canceled his recall.
I was going to say, that much gold, you see the BF gold in your pocket, and you just can't not spend it.
Yeah, he waited for the 1,600 and then decided to go back.
Good choice. Definitely going to be an advantage in lane, being able to shoot the longer rockets early against Tristana. when you're just getting a little bit of poke back. You'll have the shield from Kiwi. Plays to be made, or possibility, I should say. Now for the Dignitas bot lane with that damage.
And now it's about the placement of the wards. You can see the ward elimination placed earlier to try and tip off for the Crumbs gank has expired, so he did place it a little early if he's trying to scout out a level 6 gank. Even now, he's actually putting himself at risk because... oh, that's a big bait. That's noticed there by Dig. I thought Crumbs might try and jump on him. Right. That's why High went up and supported him. Nice team communication there.
Looks like we got Sneaky's first back as well. And it's Boots and a pot, so they have the upper hand on speed here. Lemonation can also get that with the stand behind me unbreakable when he throws his shield up. So they may have an advantage in that lane on the chase. And a lot of movement now for Dragon Jet. Looks like we're going to get some posturing done, or at least a ward set up now that the blues are grabbed.
Shifter just missed that sweeper. That's actually pretty critical, because that's one of the many paths that Rengar can use to gank. I want to talk about the team fights, because we're going to be seeing them shortly in this game. Dignitas is so poke-focused that they actually hope Cloud9 starts objectives first so they can bombard them with Xerath and Gragas if they ever want to collapse in on them. Whereas Cloud9 wants to find quick and decisive fights, and they don't necessarily want to play the same level of poke war.
No aggression towards the top lane. Zion Spartan, Balls fending for themselves the entire time. We're trying to see Crumbs. Now he's 6 coming out of his jungle. It's like they're going to try to put a little aggression in the bot lane, though, as Helios, or Meteos, they look the same, making a move. Crumbs slowly wait. He's hoping somebody comes back up the river, but they have full vision. Nothing's even coming close to him, and he should know that.
I'm pretty sure they would have seen Crumbs enter that brush before the ward expired. But Meteos' timing to go back there was really suboptimal. So the wait and see by Crumbs really works out for him. They should get this dragon easy. Jeez.
So no ganks necessary. Map control is Dignitas' idea so far. Crumbs back to the jungle with his Madrids to clear it out. Sightstone coming in from Meteos so they can start getting more vision on the map. They've already got the red defensive pink ward coming out. Looks like they'll start to continue placing. If there was another pink ward, Meteos would be clearing it. They're trying to stay omnipresent.
Yeah, he's just going and using this opportunity of the Lost Dragon to try and get control over the jungle there of Dignitas. I have to say, Crumbs got himself way too low on that dragon. You know how we see teams do dragon aggro juggling really early on in the game around level 2 to try and keep junglers alive? Yet, oftentimes you will see junglers just face tanking it in the mid game here when they're trying to rush it down because they wanted to get it down as quickly as possible because they're afraid of Cloud9 coming through. But honestly, it was just sloppy. He had to go back to base.
Maybe hoping for some Madrid procs. Flash on Zion in the top lane. It was slow walking in from Meteos and crew. They thought they had what they wanted. They knew they blew the flash, so that will be a return trip or a stay trip. Looks like we got a 2v2 in the top lane. We also could get some love at the bottom for aggression.
But it would be opting into a 2v2 where they do not even have higher health.
Ooh, Crumbs, the ulti, wearing off.
Unfortunate right there for Crumbs. He needs to use better judgment with those Rengar ultimates. 90-second cooldown, so nothing like a Nocturne, which is about 150 or 160 seconds at rank 1. So much more frequent. But he knew Meteos was there.
Yeah.
So using the ultimate there just to confirm that he was there and not wanting to 2v2 is a waste of the cooldown.
See that push in the mid lane now. Shifter can see him though, so nothing big coming to this. Cloud9 just trying to gain a little bit of map pressure everywhere here. High may want to get it back for himself. Get some more vision control up.
Great deep wards. And this does have to do with Dignitas not having too much control of that bottom lane. Tristana and Braum are consistently keeping QtPie and Kiwi Kid shoved in, which is giving opportunities for Lemonation to penetrate the jungle, which in turn messes up Crumbs' ganks.
Well, if they know where Crumbs is, they can easily get these high-risk, high-value wards into place every time. And they've kept Zion Spartan here in this top lane, as well as Balls. No teleports have come from either of those two within most of these fights. And that first dragon we saw, nicely going over to dig on place. So 16.8 to 15.9 as it starts to tick up. That 1,000 gold lead is what Dignitas is working with. Not a huge amount of momentum, but start to carry a lead here.
It's basically the dragon that is giving them an edge. But something that is really peculiar to me is Cloud9 actually has more control in this game. If we look at the deep wards in the jungle, Cloud9 will know exactly where Dignitas is. They know where they're going to rotate to, and they know where Crumbs is most of the time in the jungle because they've been able to put the deep wards there. Yet, Cloud9 hasn't been able to use that information for an edge. Meteos hasn't caught anyone out. He hasn't found the right ganks, and their lanes aren't necessarily playing that aggressively despite being relatively immune to ganks. Dignitas is getting pressured a lot by wards, but just based on the individual farming, they're maintaining their lead. It's a strange game.
The ward placed immediately. I thought High was going to go clear it. They've already pinged out the one pink ward just placed behind red from Crumbs. And we'll see again in the top lane. This is red buff on, so they'll be able to negate a bit of that speed for Mundo, but he's still breaking crowd control with that ult. Looks like he'll be safe for now. He's staying on the backside, and the lane's already pushing up.
Crumbs really spends an inordinate amount of time in the top lane. It's potentially one of the reasons Shifter's CS numbers have been dipping a little bit, because the jungler is always in the top lane.
Wow. Cloud9 just completely reading this one out, knowing that Crumbs is nowhere to be had. With all the vision they have, they pretty much know where he is, trying to gank the lane.
They're going to try and do this one. Ultimate up, no ignite on Amundo.
There goes the ult. He flashes away. He's going to get bumped. Got it. Will lock him down enough. They capitalize on the first blood in the top lane. That goes to Zion Spartan, a good guy to get going.
Yeah. With the amount of time they spent on this, it better work. So Dignitas does do that, and it's all about if Cloud9 can respond. As of now, we're going to see they're pushing with 3 people.
We have to be careful. Ball still has teleport. 10 seconds. If this fight goes long, he'll be coming in. That's going to be Zion Spartan's teleport coming into the bottom lane. He has his ultimate up. Gives the body slam in. Throws the cask out. Sneaky's in a bad spot. So is the rest of the team, though, as Lemon Nation tries to put himself on the front side. And it does not look... Yes, the teleport from Balls is coming in. A little too early to signify that, but they could be able to get the turret out of this.
And Riv, the impact of Amundo coming in is lackluster when you compare it to what Zion Spartan just did in that bottom lane.
Yeah.
Trying to turn around what Cloud9 used to pressure. When all is said and done, though, they end up getting the turret.
Strong push. Can they spend 45 seconds in the bottom lane, though? They're going to have to. It looks like Zion Spartan may just walk back down along with Crumbs. This Dragon's going to be up quite soon, as High is keeping that pushed up right to the turret.
Yeah, double Athenes in this mid lane as well. Not too out of the ordinary. Those are very, very standard Orianna builds, despite the nerf to Athenes.
Yeah.
Xerath, since he hasn't been shut down by this point, Shifter will have a lot of potential to really wreck Tristana in the team fights in particular. It's going to be very difficult for Sneaky to position himself properly with all that long-range bombardment coming down.
And I like the builds after those Athenes, the damage for Dissonance, the penetration for Shifter on the outside, and then movement, because you're standing still. That's never a safe thing. You want to get out of there. 2K gold lead for Dig. Can they continue to stretch that? Dragon's alive, and they got to put themselves back in a sad, sore spot for an Orianna ultimate.
This Dragon is so huge for Cloud9. We talked before, though, how Cloud9 has to be very careful in this Dragon Pit because of all the poke that Dignitas has if they want to go in on them. Crumbs does have his ultimate up, so when they start, they'll be at risk for an engagement. They're burning it down so quick, though. Dignitas isn't poking.
They ate that thing alive. Sneaky already has an Infinity Edge Rush, not even a static Shiv on this one. He wanted pure damage matching that of what Cutie Pie would have. And they both have a bit of attack speed they can give themselves in stats. So now Cloud9, not really able to work off too much after that Dragon. Clear out mid. Nice job, though, keeping themselves just 1,000 down.
So that Dragon play was really, really good for Cloud9.
Yeah.
They had lost their deep ward control and were still able to fend off Dig because Dig didn't have any ward control at the Dragon. It's kind of the cost Dignitas has paid. Of all teams, Dignitas, usually the most warded team, has actually been outwarded this game by Cloud9. Right. And on a completely different topic, Zion Spartan rushed to Death Cap, which is a first for me seeing Gragas do this. No extra mana, except for that random mana crystal. Really looking for a lot of upfront burst. He will be doing more burst than with the Lichbane right off the bat. Right. When he builds Lichbane next, he'll still have a lot of damage. I would say they're looking to try and burst down balls with another Rengar gank, and that's why he's went Death Cap.
Spirit Visage on that side, so his ultimate will be helping him out a little bit. Stay safe. Backs all around the map, nobody creating too much initial pressure right now.
we're off.
Whee! There's 17.5 on the clock. 700 gold in the favor of Dignitas as Cloud9 slowly closes that gap, and it's across the board. No one person is just getting a huge chunk of change to carry this one. It's up to both teams on this. Crumbs again, kind of hovering around mid. Not again, but now hovering around mid, I should say. He's been again in the top lane, but nothing's going to come of this. Both teams gathering for a little bit of a mid fight.
This game just getting closer and closer.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Coming for you, Crumbs.
Just taunting them a little bit by standing still. See if they can move this one out. Meteos finally going over for that ward. They pinged us out quite a while ago. They just haven't had the patience, or positioning, I should say, to take it down. Now doing it safety in numbers in the buddy system. See that going around. Zion Spartan thinks he's going to be ganked here, so he's trying to get more vision behind him. So as Dignitas sets up defense, they're pretty much waiting for Cloud9 to make a move. Looks like it might be this mid turret at half health.
And as we noticed in the pick and ban phase, Dignitas' wave clear is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Especially with the Death Cap Gragas here. Whether it's the Xerath or the Gragas, as long as one of them are in a lane, Dig can't really shove it. Or sorry, Cloud9 can't really shove it. So Cloud9 does kind of just have to wait around Dragon cooldowns or catch Crumbs in transit within the jungle. This is definitely gearing up for a long game if the aggression levels of these teams remain at a similar pace.
You can see trying to bait with the blue there. Crumbs just on the edge, saying shifter, make yourself look baitable. No go. They back off as soon as the minions are out of range.
It's tricky to bait with Xerath without being super obvious.
Yeah.
Hey, I could kill this wave from half the screen away, but I'm not going to. Maybe you should attack me now. Just doesn't work.
Get that melee range ultimate in. 19.5 minutes. Sneaky clearing out wards so Cloud9 can control this dragon area when the time comes. We see the ultimate from Crumbs. Is it close enough though? There's the warning on Elimination. Splits himself on the side. Takes the low road when he should have taken the high road. Jumps back over. There is so much crowd control. He cannot get out of this one. Unfortunately, a great shockwave, but the answer back doesn't allow High or the rest of the team to get into the fight.
Yeah, that was a big 4-man gank there by Dignitas. Crumbs making that Rengar ultimate work. He does have some cooldown reduction as well, so it should come in faster. And now it's all about how well Dig can capitalize off that kill.
There's a flash coming in from Crumbs.
Double
there.
flash.
There.
Crumbs flash to get the bola in the first place.
20 minutes on the clock. It does not look like Sneaky feels comfortable to stay in the bottom lane. Double wave pushing into the turret. He's actually teetering on what he should do. Once the team gets vision of Dignitas, he'll be safe, but they cannot and they do not. Both back off with 1:30 on Dragon. That's where eyes will be.
The way Dignitas handles these counter pushes determines the eventual effectiveness of that gank, and it definitely seems like that gank was quite effective. For now, the majority of Cloud9 having to go back to base, and the side lanes remain safe. So great job there.
Yeah, coming out strong. Until those flashes were blown, it was all in favor of Dignitas. We do still have one blown on Braum, and we saw High blowing his, so the next fight could be big for Crumbs to get a priority target on High without Azanya's. Balls should get this top turret down. Teleports up for him so he can be anywhere on the map after he backs if necessary. Good control kind of by both teams when they can get it.
I do feel like Balls' Mundo is the key to victory here for Cloud9.
Okay.
The double AP composition with Xerath, Gragas trying to just fire them back. Rengar being a low damage jungler, especially with Crumbs.
Once he gets big.
If he gets big enough, he will run amok. And that has happened for Cloud9 on multiple occasions. They really have that late game composition here, stacking the magic resist as of now, because he knows I'm a cutie pie, won't be able to do much to him until later regardless.
He just locked in that Warmogs too.
This next dragon seems like a Cloud9 power play, if they can get in on quick enough, especially with the war control they have.
Trying to put even more out. They do have double sight stones to be used. Crumb's not putting one in his inventory. You can just see the regulars, as Rengar would.
No,
Unfortunately,
it does not block the lantern.
Doesn't block lantern or people.
He tried.
That'd have been pretty funny. I'd have liked it. Dragon's up. Looks like we're going to have a little do-si-do here in the river. Everybody's going to get their socks wet, but we're going to get a dragon out of it.
And how well can Dignitas poke off?
Wet socks.
We
gotta
will
change
find
socks.
out shortly.
Got to get some socks change here. So
should have gone with the odorless socks.
Yeah.
You can get socks with little silver particles in them, and they apparently don't smell.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, I heard it once. I've never bought them.
Weird. That'd be like rocks in your socks.
No, you don't even notice it. It's like it's nanotechnology.
Nano.
Yeah.
Wow. Why don't they
throwing out a bunch of buzzwords right now, Rick.
All right. I got it. I'm buying every one of them. So we can see the gold actually very even as it's come down to it. The 2 kills in favor of Dignitas. Pretty coordinated. A little bit of lackluster team coordination by Cloud9 as they were retreating in a few of these. But it's nothing that's put them out of the game. Gold's even. 22 minutes in. And we have great CSing throughout all of the lanes right now. Interesting build from Zion Spartan as he's going completely damage on this top lane, Gragas. Rabadon's first.
So we have some visibility bugs that we're trying a client restart to fix. This does have the potential to be a very long pause. Just a forewarning to everyone out there. Yeah, all right. Woo! Because honestly, we've been building up to this fight for quite some time. We may as well build up a little bit more. You can see how close the game is. The Shifter versus High featured matchup lane is honestly going in Shifter's favor in a lot of
gold
ways.
off. Yep.
Because it's 100 gold off, it's going in Shifter's favor. High hasn't been able to do any aggressive things.
Exactly.
And as far as in team fight, killing people, Shifter's the best at that. So he is in a very strong position. And
it is.
Pretty much
We
has
said
enough
these
gold
guys
for
have
death
different
capture.
play styles, right? High is the guy that will go in and use everything before he goes down, or seemingly get caught out and somehow die, but use everything. And Shifter's that outside. I will get the quadra kill after my entire team goes down, clutch player. That sometimes can get you in trouble. Both sides will. If High thinks he has the upper hand or Shifter thinks I'm in the right spot, and if not, then these fights go to Baron and then they go to inhibitors. These teams know how to take a mile after getting a fight.
And as well, as far as the fight itself, High's Orianna has the potential to be fantastic.
Yeah.
But she's one of the most difficult champions to control. And I feel like High has typically found the most success on the diving all-in champions. He had that one fantastic game on Italy before the rework, and he didn't get to play any more of that.
The gift that came out of that.
But honestly, there's a big potential for failure on Ori against a relatively mobile team. Because Xerath and Jinx are non-dashing champions, it's a good pick in this situation.
Yeah.
But he still has a pretty large chance of flubbing an ultimate at some point.
They say Varus' ult is pretty hard to hit. So is Ori's, especially when you have people like if you try to Elise. I almost never repel ball or put the ball in Elise because if she repels instantly out of range, you just sombrero the ultimate and you look totally dumb because it just goes off on your head. So that's something you have to worry about. Obviously, Crumbs is on Rengar on the other team, and that's another guy you have to worry about balling. But High's ultimates, we've actually seen a few put in today. Solo ball movement to the ult has really been where it's at.
People put their glasses on. There's a fight!
Oh, ball's right into the middle of this one. He gets the ult, but they don't throw the shockwave on because everybody dispersed. Zion Spartan, the rest of the team, seeing that perfectly and backing off, creating a line of scrimmage that says no thank you through a command shockwave.
I feel like the start of that fight was in favor of Dig because they got some poke off already, and the ultimate from Mundo has been burned. The Dragon getting burned down, but they're so low!
High's very low. Shockwave doesn't go off. It gets canceled out in the channel. That's a double kill coming in for Shifter from the outside of the fight. Dragon goes over to Crumbs. Beautiful job. Balls and Sneaky forced to run out of this, and it's a triple kill for that guy on the outside.
Hey, we mentioned that Shifter knows how to get kills in team fights, and he collected a few near the end of that one. Cloud9 took too much poke before the Dragon, and then refused to disengage the Dragon, which ended up costing them big time. They're going for Baron too, they're gonna get it.
That disengage when Balls was right in the middle, perfect move. Really seeing the fight for more than just the first step and how it would play out. Dignitas now on Baron, uncontested at 23 minutes, and they're gonna have a huge stat/gold lead after this. They're gonna be controlling the map.
That was a 5,000 gold swing.
Yep. Yeah, it was.
Plus the Baron buff, which is thousands of gold worth of stats. And now the poke composition can really begin. Death cap will be built up by Shifter.
Yeah.
Zion does have his Lich Bane in case they get engagements. Things are looking rather grim for Cloud9.
So Ball's actually on the backside here. Great little initiation.
Right. I mean, they just had to burn. As soon as they saw the Mundo ult go off, notice how Dignitas ran away and they threw everything in defensively because they knew they wanted the long fight and they knew that Cloud9 wanted to brawl. At this point, it's really just all about finding the catch, and we have to just watch what happens to High here because he gets a little too far from home. Max Ferocity by Crumbs gets him with the bowler root, which means everything else got piled on top of him. No shockwave meant full-on initiation for Dignitas, and Dignitas got exactly what they want from that fight. An extended fight with poke while Cloud9 was fighting the dragon, and it gives them every advantage they desired.
Great play coming in. Dignitas very strong on that fight. Crumbs having the locket of the Iron Solari. It's like a Russian back splits. He used to have that in his inventory every single game.
True.
That he'd help the team win the fights, especially in those enclosed dragon engages. So now with a great lead of 3,000 gold here, C9 was able to close a little bit of that, pushing the waves. Dignitas is back to peppering the front line. And 2 to 3 in turrets, they'll look to open up the map a little bit more here with a second tier in mid.
They're hoping to find a catch with this Rengar ultimate. He does get a Bola. What's happening
it
next?
stops the zap just short. Whew, that was coordinated in the mines, but the skills just off.
That was a really cool usage of the Rengar ultimate there. Just so he could sneak attack a Bola instead of just jumping full in and committing himself. Knowing that they have so much long-range poke, it very easily could have resulted in a kill. Ended up burning a flash from Sneaky.
It's quick. He's almost halfway down on that charge as ult, so he'll be back up right soon. Be able to do that over and over again.
On a 73-second cooldown with the amount of CDR he has right now.
Boom. Fighting every minute sounds good to me. 25:40 on the clock. There's that HP of balls on the front line. He is pretty tanky right now. You can see they don't really have the damage to get through that, but he can only take so much of that before he has to use his ultimate.
Cloud9 is in full-on turtle mode right now.
Whoa!
Oh, man! And they're just looking to delay Dignitas' siege.
Turtle in mortar mode. Good lord. Everything over the wall on that one.
Which definitely happened right there. So what exactly was that? That was the cocoon?
He was just like trying
followed
to
by a
ward.
shockwave.
Yeah, the dissonance pretty much shut him down from moving anywhere, and they just piled it on. It's a good catch. Definitely should not have happened.
So beneficial. That completely shuts down the Dignitas siege.
Finally a window.
I think it gives Cloud9 the time they need to recover. That was a large portion of the Baron buff just to set up that siege in the first place. There's a minute left on that Baron buff, and wait another minute, Cloud9's only down 2,500 gold.
Very interesting plays. Cloud9 is a team that will bide their time until you give them exactly what they want. And all that was just one kill they needed, completely opening up a window for themselves now to get some breathing room. High has his blue. Just like that. Has just about half on it. So it'll be wearing off before the next fight, most likely. Minute and 40 left on Dragon. They're just trying to get the waves pushed out. 287 to 282 in our featured matchup, but Shifter grabbing those 3 kills last time. We'll see how he can put that to use in this next engagement with a double Rabadons coming out. That AP team is getting all their damage. And this is where they have to make an impact.
Yep. Because it's also the point in the game before Sneaky can atomize defensively while still trying to remain relevant. With the Dr. Mundo in the top lane, you do need a very damaging AD carry in order to win fights in the late game. It's all about Cloud9 trying to get to that late game. Whether or not Crumbs can make action happen, it doesn't help that he's standing.
Nope, he is
right
hatching that.
Oh. The worst place to ultimate, too.
What? They're gonna bait it? They got enough bait?
I don't know what kind of bait this is.
This is a weird
Bad
kind
idea.
of bait. That's deep water you're in. Oh, he gets him over the wall. Kiwi Kid actually hits Sneaky. A pie to the face with the death sentence there and hooks him in. Very interesting and a little bit uncoordinated play from Cloud9 there.
Very confused right there. They had a perfect ward. They caught Rengar ulting, and they thought, yeah, if he jumps on one of us, it's just going to happen. No, run away. He used his ultimate. Just get away from him. Meteos ends up burning his flash and still dying.
Wow.
As Dignitas pushes bot.
And if Dig needs more off of this when they release pressure, they can have Dragon. That's on 10-second cooldown, but right now eyes are focused on the pressure of turrets, opening up the map now. This is actually luckily where they were back before, but they have a bit something happening on the other side of the map they have to coordinate for.
Turret trade, Sneaky getting a whole chunk of the next turret coming down as well. Forcing the teleport. He wishes he could kill that before it's completed. Oh no, we've seen this game before.
Buster shot backwards. Safe play. So Dig does grab Dragon. They don't lose second tier, but that is not going to heal up like an inhibitor turret. Very close balls with the briefcase. He does not decide to throw. He holds.
They are looking awfully confident right now.
That could be a dead Crumbs. Oh, wait.
He's invisible.
Yep.
Are they going to try to turn this?
Cloud9's trying to act really fast.
Cloud9,
and they
this
don't,
is such a dangerous spot for them to be in against Xerath.
They don't know where the team's coming from. They don't have the vision here. Zion Spartan just threw his ultimate into the river. This could be huge for Cloud9 now. Wow. Very, very, very tight play coming from Cloud9, and Dig just trying to collapse, making some mistakes there.
Let's be completely frank, though. Dignitas is still winning this game by a lot. It's just a couple times that Cloud9 has cut out Crumbs, and that's all Cloud9 has been able to do. Dignitas this whole game has kept the poke game strong for the most part, pushed the waves, secured the objectives, and exactly what they needed to do. It's these small missteps that are leaving really tiny windows for Cloud9 to sneak a picture.
Looks like they're going to get their waves cleared now. Mikhail's Crucible out on Kiwi Kid. Looking at some of the support items. It's going to be helping Crumbs or anybody that gets themselves into a sore situation. 11 seconds onto Baron, and that may be created by both teams coming up quite soon.
Yeah, and check this out, Riv, as far as Baron control. 5 pink wards in the inventory of Dignitas. Well, now it's 4, because Zion decided to place 1. But they're really looking for the optimal amount of control on this map. They already have some pink wards out, actually, so they will be replacing one shortly. Kiwi Kid already has one out and has a replacement in case it dies. That's the one in the brush they're running by right now. That's Kiwi Kid's.
The Battle of Wards, the War of Baron. It begins. 4,000 gold for Dignitas here. So far, they are definitely taking the battle to Cloud9. 2 or 3 pink wards cleared out, or at least 2.
It is going to be so tough for Cloud9 to even think about this Baron. They go around one wrong corner, and with the double death cap, double AP guys, they're going to kill somebody. Maybe in this lemon.
Okay, that's some damage. There's no follow-up, though. Very big for that crowd control to be used on Shockwave.
Mikhail's and heal used to try and counter that Shockwave. I'd say that's worth it if we're talking about an extended amount of pressure. As long as they do something in the next... Wow, that's a low cooldown on that Shockwave.
Yeah, Ori Ultimate is not very long. You're just over a minute.
He hit level 16, and he had blue buff, plus the Athenes, which meant it's only on a 58.5 second cooldown.
Oh, so with that, with blue,
go fast.
you're under that minute.
But it's the vision control.
Crumbs ulting. All right. Looks like they're going to get dictated down middle here. Dignitas Knight not in the right spot. Cloud9 moving as a pack here. It looks like they definitely have an idea on where they want to start going. It's going to be to clear these wards. They have the control to do it now. Dig giving that up. Not too much coming from either side on that.
Not quite getting those flame chompers down to continue the rooting.
So just one of those pink wards now stands. Dignitas' inventory is clear of those. Cloud9 has slowly walked back and forth to make sure those were cleared.
That is a big win for Cloud9. 500 gold worth of pink wards just gone. And I guess 150 gold gain for Cloud9 for killing those pink wards.
So we got Sneaky building up. He is close. Actually, another BF sword. It looks like he's actually going to do Triss Bloodthirster to come in here and stay strong to some of the poke he's going to be dealing with and getting pushed around.
It is a more and more common thing for AD carries to not build the Last Whisper as third items. Generally, against teams that do not bring a tank top laner, because there's not nearly as much for them to shred through. Crumbs, of course, trying to create his Randuin's Omen, so he would force Sneaky into a Last Whisper to damage him. But at this point, they're killing Crumbs pretty easily anyway with the Orianna damage. And I have to just point out, it's pretty disastrous for Dignitas when they go back to base by 5 pink wards and don't get anything done.
Yeah.
It's a very bad sign. They really have to do better on their next push here if they want to close out this soon-to-be monstrous Mundo.
He is going to be a very, very big Mundo. Even considering Zion Spartan in the solo lane, 201, and Shifter went 302. Crumbs should have had a pretty easy jungle to get Rengar around. Right now, it looks like they're kind of struggling to figure out how to get past Cloud9 at this point with the amount of HP they're bringing to the table.
They're hoping for a catch, and they see interest.
Rocket jumps away. That definitely makes Sneaky a target. He has his flash and heal up so he can bait somebody in. Lemon Nation just hip to hip with him for safety. Still trading back and forth.
They're really looking for something here. Who can get caught?
Chompers are down. Balls in the front line here. Sneaky's actually on Crumbs alone. Crumbs is forced to turn around, and Dignitas cannot find the fight they want. Nobody has an in-the-fight initiation.
Dignitas needs to keep poking, and until they get a nice catch or a nice amount of poke, they're losing these fights. That's why Cloud9 is pushing them around.
Oh, man.
They don't have any vision at the Baron Pit either. So Dignitas has to come in here blind, and they're getting zoned off by the Mundo.
Just Balls is able to hold these guys out. They're slowly walking this through. Crumbs could be the focus. He may have to ult out of this one. It's not even up yet. He's forced to flash. Sneaky, level 18, would have been able to get another shot on that, but well enough. They're going to be pushing down the lane, and they are going to be grabbing themselves a turret. What a dance we just saw for 5-6 minutes.
We always talk about how Cloud9 has clean team communication, and they know how to win games, even if they're far behind, even if they've given up a Baron and a bad Dragon fight and lost to the poke once. They find ways to stay competitive. And this is a big swing in the momentum.
From Baron down to the bottom side, blue is theirs, Dragon will be theirs. They just timed so many things. They multitasked around Dignitas and still got the fight win. Beautiful job, Cloud9 catapulting themselves a bit of gold. But they're still not even in the lead. Go figure, 6-2, and those 2 kills are only on Sneaky, as Cloud9 is pretty much in control.
It definitely seems that way. Here's the problem, though. They are against the Gragas and the Xerath, which is really hard to push against.
Bringing just about the same items.
Yeah.
They're big.
Balls will, because they have Mundo, it won't be as bad because they're going to have to, if they want to siege turrets, do it without minions. With how much AP Zion Spartan has, with how much AP Shifter has, minions are not reaching turrets. Maybe if Balls tries to split push, him and Zion can go out a little bit. They have to be very creative with the ways they take down these turrets, and it will most likely involve a lot of risk. There's a chance that Cloud9 can't even get anything done with this Baron buff, unless they get really aggressive.
That interesting dance of a poke composition. Your fight comes from the objectives. The scaring them off comes from the turret.
It's all about this inhibitor wall of turrets. The outer turrets, you can get flanked around, but they're not nearly as easy to defend. This is the turret wall that Dig should be able to clear for a while.
And they're just cresting past the river as well, so they could easily go to this top side, push down the turret, hard to be guarded. Hear from Dignitas on both sides since they can get swept around. Cloud9, with their exit of the jungle, is definitely placing some breadcrumb wars to stay safe. PewDiePie still trying to get himself to a carry position. If he can start getting resets, he can make an impact, but it's going to be tough.
That's one Rengar ultimate.
PewDiePie not really in position to start the fight. Gets a zap on for a bit of vision. He's hit Balls. Not too much damage though. The Thornmail kind of negating a bit of that and trading back to himself. Looks like Cloud9 is really just dictating whatever they want right now, causing Dignitas to run themselves thin across the map.
Outer turrets all down.
Yep.
Here comes the siege.
That's going to be a level 17 Tristana. He only needs one more of max range and already can hardly be touched on the turret. Rapid fire is down. They want to back off a little bit.
Balls had to flash right there. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to use Mundo with the Orianna shield on top, or really anyone. The fact they got this turret so easily is remarkable. This could be the end for Dignitas as far as winning the game. It won't end immediately, but not being able to hold that is disastrous.
Simply walk right in. It doesn't matter that the solo lanes came out on top for Dig. It's the overall map play that Cloud9 is able to come out on top of pretty much from mid-game, and now Dignitas is trying to recuperate on this. They have all the items they want, and they've gotten pretty much everything. They just can't get any more kills. Cloud9's playing it way too safe somehow.
Well, the thing is, Dig is just playing this disengaged composition through and through, where they're disengaging a little too much, and Cloud9 is just taking Barons and turrets along the way. They're not putting up as big of a resistance as they honestly should.
Really Crumbs as well. Tank Rengar really coming in, not providing too much other than a bit of chaos at the start of the fight. We usually see him going down immediately. Here, a level behind Meteos, trying to get a Bola on to clear that Banshee's Veil. These guys are definitely looking for something. Not much for them to grab at right now.
What a turn of events. If Cloud9 continues this swing and can win the game. They were down 5,000 gold after they lost that Dragon team fight. Lost the Dragon, then lost a Baron. But honestly, it all started with that one catch on a Crumbs over the wall, down by Cloud9's base. And ever since that moment, they have avoided the Xerath Gragas pressure from Dignitas. Crumbs hasn't been able to get any good Gragas or any good Rengar picks off. If you're looking back, you think maybe Dignitas should have gone more aggressive while they had the Baron buff, but they couldn't as soon as Crumbs got picked off. And ever since that point, it has been Cloud9 dictating to Dig.
So good at playing from behind in a lot of areas. Right now, it's really just Balls that has, I believe, the lead in that top lane. Actually, no, it's 80 carry of Sneaky. 2,000 gold lead on to Cutie Pie. That's really the only one they have to work with. Zion Spartan has just about 1,000 gold lead on Balls. So for Cloud9 to be playing down, knowing what they need to do, and really causing Dignitas to move to the beat of their drum. Very impressive. Sneaky, a little scary there, getting some reminiscent memories of his arcane shift forward. So he plays it safe.
The fact that Dignitas isn't clearing this minion wave before it hits the turret.
Too passive.
Yeah, they're being incredibly scared of a Shockwave or a Elise Cocoon. Because Shifter and Gragas do have the capabilities to do so.
With that Guardian
Angel. It's just the zoning control of Balls' GA Mundo is pretty great. Oh, there's a pull.
Lemon Nation says you want to aggress, we'll aggress. They throw down the fight. The hats as well. Looks like Dignitas trying to go for broke on this one. Crumbs throws down the lock into the Iron Solari for the team, and it will be enough to save the hide of just one, but Lemon Nation goes down inside of Cloud9. What a shockwave. Crumbs didn't even have time to think about that one.
Cloud9 playing with a little bit of fire here, but doing exactly what they need to do. 2 inhibitors down. Woo! Uh-oh. Good flash. Look at the tankiness of Balls right now, helping him take down another inhibitor turret. And the sustained damage from Dig is not there. It's all poke.
He definitely worked out this week. They got to be careful, though. Shifter still can pick up kills. We haven't seen kills in a long time, and now they're starting to come in. 2 over for Dignitas, 2 have come in for Cloud9, but those Nexus turrets are going down.
Yikes.
Dignitas had to do what they had to do at the inhibitor, but the minions making work of those Nexus turrets.
Cloud9 may be getting a little greedy here, but they have the super minion support. 3 inhibitors down. They bite off just as much as they can chew and get away with 3 inhibitors
they
down.
Ping Baron. They ping down Baron knowing they have the waves come in.
How's Dignitas going to get out of their base?
They can't.
Inhibitors down. Balls' ultimate is up again. That late game Mundo against the poke comp has been a menace.
Such a controlled game now that Cloud9 doesn't have to run 2 people in the jungle with Meteos. He gets his jungle back to himself. No more of these 2v1. Balls gets his 1v1 matchups. It just seems like Cloud9 is so comfortable in their matches now.
The thing is, they don't necessarily lose in the early game, and they've always been spectacular as a team fighting team with even ground. And it's kind of shown here, not even with the team fights, but just in the positioning before the team fights.
Yeah.
And knowing what their strengths, both from a champion perspective and from an individual perspective, are.
And it hasn't stopped that Cloud9 is keeping up the ward coverage. We stopped talking about it, but they've kept on it. Still forward wards in Dignitas' jungle and being swept out accordingly. Dig has no vision of what's going on right now. Really suffocated all the way into the base. You can see some of the gold leads here per lane. How's it going? About 2,000 to 3,000 just in the 80 carries. Sneaky making an impact on this one.
Ever so slowly, yeah. He's going to hit max items here. Mercurial Scimitar.
Yeah.
That is powerful, Trist. 455 attack damage. Scary. Especially when there's such small amounts of armor on Dignitas.
Yeah.
I'm a Cutie Pie. Looks like he's trying to build a Phantom Dancer with his last item. He's going to die in 2 shots.
See what Cloud9 dictates. Looks like they're heading top. Dignitas is parting on the bottom side. Really, Cloud9 is just saying, what resources can we destroy before we head back into the base for one last rodeo. 8-4 with a 6,000 gold lead now. It took actually Cloud9 a little bit to get that gold lead back in their favor, but once they did, they have not stopped.
They were down by a large margin in this game. For Dignitas to crawl back here, they would need Crumbs to find the right kind of jump onto Sneaky and somehow burst him down. But the fact that there is the QSS from the Mercurial Scimitar, as well as the shielding potential from Braum, it's a slim chance here. Dignitas got to try, though.
It's not a Super Dragon Rengar, or Super Damage Rengar either. He gets popped up. He can't even get to the back line. He goes down even with his armor build. Cloud9's moving in, and looks like Balls is on the front line of the cavalry. Cutie Pie gets blasted back. to the fountain with 25 HP to his name, 25% HP. The Nexus turrets go down. A great shockwave could be the last thing that Dignitas sees, and it's going to be Shifter on the backside trying to throw out some damage. He gets locked up. The Nexus is now the focus of super minions and the rest of Cloud9. Shifter's Zanya last only so long. 44-22 on the clock. Cloud9 takes down Dignitas.
Not your ordinary game, but it is another victory here for Cloud9. They were down 5 kills to 0 at one point and 5,000 gold. But they knew the strengths of their composition. Balls got too big on Mundo. High had a solid Orianna game, and the carry who has been with them this entire split and has performed so consistently sneaky was Max Item 402 Trist, and really was a turret destroyer by the end of that, and that's really all that mattered.
They had great moves, though even the one time Sneaky was by himself in mid lane, pushing. Kind of an old reminiscent Cloud9 where they were playing very much so off the ball. And like what you mentioned in Champion Select, it really just came to fruition was the AP comp didn't have enough damage to kill the Mundo. And it seems like Cloud9 took a hold of that idea immediately and said, let's just play it slow.
And Cloud9 also identified how there was very little follow-up if Crumbs ever did go in, and immediately turned on to him if he ever showed his face. That's why Crumbs was just a punching bag that game. Sound Spartan and Shifter could never make it in. Kiwi Kid wasn't that tanky on threat. Yeah. So there was no front line to speak of if Dignitas wasn't poking down Cloud9. And Cloud9 exploited that to its greatest extent, all the way to a win.
Right, the wards coming out big. The play down as Dignitas grabbed a Baron. We're pushing down mid inhibitor, trying to, and then a simple catch on Crumbs. And Cloud9 reopened the map for themselves and reinvigorated what they were doing. Fantastic play to keep their heads in the game down to the brink of their first inhibitor and able to pull it back for themselves. Then simply outplaying Dig to push them towards a dragon that wasn't even up, just in the area, and take a Baron, simply off of the amount of space they created between themselves.
Cloud9 was on the brink of defeat. This was a very close game for quite some time. Dignitas definitely had an edge at some point. But we look at it now, and it's two teams in completely different, going in completely different directions.
Yeah.
Cloud9 has now won 5 of their last 6 games, whereas Dignitas has lost 6 of 7.
Yeah.
So not a good thing for Dignitas fans right now.
The end of the split coming true. History almost really repeating itself for Dig here. But for a first-hand account of the game, let's send it down to Kobe, who's on the blue side.
All right, thank you, Riv. I'm here with Meteos after their victory. Congratulations. Let's start it off with picks and bans because there's a couple picks that are really hot right now, very popular, Rengar and Gragas. Now, you, I know, put a lot of work in on Rengar a while ago. What is your opinion on Rengar as a champion right now for the jungle? Do you like this full tank CDR build, or do you like to throw a Brutalizer in there?
Well, personally, I like building Rengar with just Feral Flare into full tank, because I think that's probably the strongest way, with cooldown boots, of course. And I think Rengar's really strong. He provides a ton of pressure when he's missing, because his ult has such a short cooldown that he can constantly be anywhere, and he'll come out with basically 3.5 seconds of snare, and a ton of damage, which is insane for a jungler to provide. So Rengar's very strong, but the counter to him is that he's not particularly strong if you catch him. Like, he doesn't have an escape. So I put a lot of emphasis into vision control that game. I got like a Sightstone right away, which is constantly trying to put wards up. Our team comp was a little bit weak because we had, you know, Mundo, Orianna, who aren't super weak, but they're just not that strong early. They scale well with items. So we were mostly just trying to keep up as much wards as we can while avoid fighting. And it went well. It went pretty well until that tragic 22-minute dragon where I want to blame the pause because we like came back really discombobulated from that. But obviously we just played it super badly and got behind. But we OG and TSM rotated them and we were able to pick up a Baron. So it worked out.
Yeah, how do you guys keep your heads in the game and focus on your plan when something like that happens in the mid game that you're not expecting and there's a pretty big blunder and you guys kind of go for that dragon when you still have probably the best scaling tank in the game and you have one of the best scaling AD carries in the game? Are you guys panicking when Rengar's getting these random picks, or are you guys completely calm?
Well, we weren't panicking at any point. We had some deaths, which could have been avoided, I guess, but basically we just always are looking at what we can do. After the dragon fight, it was really bad. We lost 3 people for nothing, and they got dragon too. So that was super bad, but afterwards we were just thinking, okay, what can we do next? Well, they're all over here, and they're kind of low, so maybe we can get up wards on the other side of the map. Just stuff like that. So we're always just trying to play forward, not really worry about what's happened so far. And even though we were down in kills, we were still pretty strong and we scaled well. So we just kept our mind focused on the goal and were able to get it.
All right, well, it worked out. Looking forward. Congratulations once again, Meteos. Now we are going to send it back over to the guys at the desk.
Thanks, Kobe. And guys, an important comeback win for C9 to keep them tied for second place and just 2 games back of the leaders, LMQ. Now, Freak, this is not the first time, though, this split that we've seen C9 have to make a comeback.
Yeah, I'm actually not a big fan of the Cloud9 style right now where you heard Meteos talk about it. You said, yeah, we're picking things that aren't very good early on. We're going to wait to scale up and hope things kind of pan out. I don't think that plays to C9's strengths very well. When you think about the 2 splits, they were dominant. The first time around, they played dominant in lane. Meteos farmed up, and they would just dive you relentlessly at your turrets 15 minutes in with a gold lead. Now, of course, players have gotten better. They can't just do that and just play, well, laning phase in a team fight. That's not an acceptable style. Last split, they played hyper-aggressive early game, create the advantages, force things, and that was actually very successful. They, again, won the split despite teams getting better and better. Now they've got this weird mix between the two where they're not winning their lanes on their own, but they're not doing very much to create advantages. The one thing I will commend them on is the fact that they are doing a very good job of playing the map. They actually remained up or equal in turrets the entire time, despite giving up dragons, despite giving up kills. But a better team would have taken those kills, not given up their own turrets, and crushed the game.
Can they win these games without having to come back, given the champions that they're defaulting to?
I mean, they are picking late game champions, right? Like, they're going to, by virtue of their champ select, probably get behind early on. The problem is they're getting farther behind early on than they should, that dragon fight, for example. And again, a team with better mid-game shot calling than Dignitas or better mid-game sort of mobility would punish this composition.
All right, well, let's take a quick look at that clip of the Dragon because, Irene, this was a bright spot for Dignitas where we actually saw Crumbs use the Rengar ult in a very innovative way. So I want you to kind of walk me through this whole engagement.
All right, so Balls gets caught at the start, and this is right after the pause. They might be a little discombobulated, but we're going to roll the clip out here and just follow it along. They get a lot of poke down with Gragas, with Xerath before the fight really even starts. The ultimates are blown, and multiple members of Cloud9 are at half HP. They disengage it, Balls is healing up, but then when they re-engage the fight here, we see Crumbs. He's using his ultimate just to get ferocity there, because he's part of a poke comp. He's not going to leap in on you. He throws in the bola, he hits high with it, and they set it up with a Jinx Rocket, and Lemon is a little too slow with the Unbreakable to back him up. They end up picking up Meteos in the pit, and the smite from Crumbs gets the Dragon. Overall, it's a 3-for-0. They get Dragon, then they rotate to Baron and take it there. But Dignitas don't continue the pressure. Crumbs gets caught later on, and Meteos said, he has no escapes when you're playing that Rengar. If you catch him out, he's done for. So they played exactly to that strength. They did stall the game out and got that Mundo to a very tanky point where he could do that type of play again, but not be punished for it. So they did just kind of go to that win condition and say, we're behind, but we still have a way back into this game, and they didn't panic.
All right, well, we've seen Cloud9 demonstrate some really fantastic team play.
Yeah.
Let's look forward all the way to Worlds. Supposing that they do make it there, when you're at that level of play, can they pull these kinds of comebacks off with just their team synergy, or are they going to have to, step up?
I think they will definitely have to step up. Now, we did, again, see glimmers of really good intelligence from High, their primary shot caller. And again, this is a team with a lot of good mid-game mobility. The weakness in Dignitas' comp was the fact that they're basically one big artillery piece. They're going to set up, they'll take time to set up, but then if they're all, aiming the right direction, the front line's there, they're going to crush you. And we saw that with the Dragon fight as the primary example. If Dignitas can set up, they'll win battles. And you saw great moves by C9 to wrest control back, not be in these prolonged sieges and play around that. And that is a great intuitive skill that they will still possess. But I think they've got to shore up those early mid-game weaknesses to not require comebacks to win games.
Yeah, on the world stage, you're going to have to step up your game tenfold, because if you're playing a team like Samsung Blue, which is already qualified right now, they're going to crush you. If they get a lead like that, just 2,000-3,000 gold that early on, a large percentage of your gold, they're just going to continue to push that advantage, change the Dragon into wards, continue to get your objectives, basically strangle you until you can't breathe anymore. That's exactly what they do, and they're just going to keep the pressure on.
Well, to go further with this point then, they play LMQ tomorrow, which is one of the North American teams that will take an early lead and they will punish you. They will do what Cloud9 used to do, which is dive you under turrets and be super aggressive. So should Cloud9 be taking, note of that? How are they going to beat that tomorrow?
I mean, the cool thing is that, again, Cloud9 still have this very good mid-game, which is like the one spot where LMQ can screw up, because they will just keep going for dives. And I still remember one of the comebacks that C9 had, where there's this big fight in like the bottom tier 2 turret, and LMQ just keeps limping into the battle, and Cloud9 wins the battle. The mid-game of C9 just is very, very good, and they tend to be grouped up. They tend to not make these big mistakes when the turret sieges are on, and that is a place where LMQ actually can falter. And so it's going to be a similar situation to where LMQ can take early game leads. We've seen that before. And once again, it's how well can Cloud9 adapt to the game as it plays out.
And here's the thing, too. In that matchup right now, Cloud9 is 2-1 over LMQ. Can LMQ bring it back and make it 2-2, or are Cloud9 just going to say, we have your number? Because LMQ right now, they look like the front runners in terms of aggression. And in this game, if Cloud9 plays like that, I don't think it's going to work out for them. They've been highly competitive games over and over again, but I think that Sneaky is just their saving grace right now. I really have to think that he's holding that team together in these later games when they get to that point, because his positioning's always been fantastic, and he hasn't really fallen off at all.
So the rest of the members of Cloud9 maybe going to have to step it up a little bit tomorrow to paw to win against LMQ. The race for the playoffs has only become more exciting as we watch the standings shift. Guys, thank you so much for all of the input there. Now we have to take one last break before we dive into our final LCS game of the day, Counter Logic Gaming versus Curse. The North American LCS returns after this.
Oh boy, let's get our game on.
I got a Ruda. I got a Ruda. Ori, kill Ori. Okay, Ori. Keep going. They want to finish. We got it. Woo!
Domination says you want to aggress. Will aggress. They throw down the fight. The hats as well. Looks like Dignitas trying to go for broke on this one.
I'm gonna try and cleaver.
Okay. Yo, Rengar's ulted.
Yo, here, Rengar. Careful balls.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Yo, push.
We have to